Welcome back everyone to today's tutorial on window light portraits. Today we're going to be talking about photographing a portrait using our window light. So let's take a look at our setup. Let me introduce my portrait today, my subject who is Gertie. She's actually going to be my character portrait today, and we're going to try to create more of a lifestyle type portrait where she's more relaxed and more in her environment and location. So again, this is my living room. I have it as simple as possible. My background, as you can see, is pretty clean and simple. I want to keep it as minimal as I can so that we can focus on our subject and focus on Gertie's face today, which is going to be the purpose of this portrait. My pose here on my couch with Gertie, she's about 5 feet from my window, and the lighting today in San Francisco is going in and out of fog, so right now I have direct sunlight. So you're going to see my lighting kind of vary. So we need to be conscious of this when we're photographing our portrait today. And because we're going to be photographing in manual, for those of you using camera, we need to make sure our shutter and our aperture are going to be set properly. So now you can see we have our basic pose for Gertie. I have her kind of tight right now. Again, when you guys photograph your subject, you want to basically be a little bit looser. So go ahead and give me some space. We want to show both some close-ups and maybe some wide 3/4 shots of your subject so that we can kind of see the environment, how it relates to our person. So we want to use our environment here and any kind of props, our dress, anything we can do to try to develop an identity or a character to your subject. So again, my window lighting is coming from my window. It's direct right now. I have bright sunlight, and what I want to try to do is create a split lighting. And you can see half of my face is in shadow and half of my face is in highlight. Right now, this lighting is pretty good, and I can go ahead and photograph Gertie today with this lighting, but it's a little bit dramatic. I want to create more of a softer, more pleasant lighting on Gertie so that, again, we create more of an open and approachable personality here with Gertie. For those of you using your camera and even on your cell phones with that focus application, we can adjust our aperture to create some soft focus, some shallow depth of field on our subject here. And I usually like to photograph at 2.8 if you can get that low, or 5.6 is a good aperture, because what happens is we focus on our subject. Our focus again today, you want to focus on the eyes. And again, today we're going to vary our framing so it's both vertical and horizontal. So let's take a look at what happens with your lighting when we pose our subject within our lighting. Right now today, for this particular exercise, I want to use a split lighting so you can really see our shadow. So look what happens when we rotate our subject. Texture and different form on our face. Again, you can watch the lighting as it's sculpting and creating shadow and texture. And this is what lighting is all about, shadow and highlight. What's nice when I work with my portraits, I create a fixed lighting and I rotate my subject in my lighting pattern so that we get different angles and different views of our subject. It helps, again, create a little bit more relaxed, casual session with our portrait, and again, it helps us interact and keep our subject moving. Work with your rule of thirds and work with space. Be creative, guys. So let's go to our next shot with the reflector. So now let's look at applying a reflector to the shadow side of our portrait. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our stay-at-home reflectors we've created for the last couple of weeks. And what I'm going to do, because I have a larger area here to cover, I need to be able to bounce some reflective light into my face. I've taken my smaller reflector that I created a couple of weeks ago for our props, and from the same box I've taken and I've created a larger reflector, and I'm going to use this for my face. And what I've done here is I've used my light stand that I use in part of my first series as my stand, and you can see I can now move my reflector in a way to create more shadow and less shadow. And again, I want a nice soft lighting on my portrait. And again, the purpose of our reflector is to fill in the shadow, and mainly to fill in the deep shadows that this light will create from this direct diffused light. So again, right now my lighting is direct, so I'm getting a lot of light in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close my shear, and you're going to see what's going to happen. I'm going to get a softer light, but what's happened, I'm going to probably lose about a stop of light because the diffuser, even though it softens my light, it actually blocks my light as well. So let's take a look. So now my last shots, my creative shots, I've actually added a little bit more to my scene by adding some glasses to Gertie, which gives it a little bit more of an open, more free spirit. And so again, I'm trying to create a personality and a character to my portrait, along with my camera and my sunglasses and my props. So again, everybody, be creative and have fun with this. I'll see you next week.